All right. Welcome back, everybody. Thursday, 2 p.m. That means it's the Holler Hour. I'm Canoe. This is Cassie. Welcome back. We hope you guys are getting used to the rhythm of this Tuesdays, Thursdays, 2 p.m. thing. And the most important part of this is our Holler Hour, which means that you can holler at us about anything you want to holler about. Jump on in, message us for the link on Facebook or Twitter, and we'll send it to you, and you can jump in and holler at us, holler with us, holler about any and all of these things. We definitely want to talk to you today. I see we already have a WWF fan saying he choke slammed them. It's got to be Kane. Yes, today we're definitely going to start out by talking first and foremost about what happened in Knoxville this week. It is quite fascinating. First, I want to remind you guys that we are hollering all throughout the state, and your contributions make that happen. So chipping in a few bucks a month really goes a long way. It helps us expand. There are a couple other places we want to go. And also make sure to check out our podcasts. Holly has been heading up our podcast network. That's been going great. So follow those too. Let's get to this Kane thing and what's going on in Knoxville, Cassie. I know that you saw it, and we're going to have someone on here pretty soon. Tyler Whetstone of Knox News is going to join us to talk about it. But the bottom line is Knoxville County Mayor Glenn Jacobs went and made a video about basically the county health board attacking freedoms. It wasn't all about the county health board, but it was about that he feels freedoms are being attacked. Why don't we go ahead and play the video and we can talk about it, and then eventually we're going to have Tyler Whetstone on here to talk about it with us. Let's see this video real quick. You guys can watch it with us. It's really worth seeing.
Last week, Mayor Jacobs signed off telling us he felt for us Board of Health members. I genuinely thanked him. Frankly, that's why I was outraged to see the Freedom Forward video that he released the very next day.
This foundation is once again under attack by sinister forces within. Elected bureaucrats with no accountability and no recourse.
So right there, he is talking about the county health board, sinister forces within, he says. And flashes pictures of the county health board. I mean, it's almost beyond parody. These are their pictures. These are these poor people who are the county health board volunteers. He flashes their pictures and he says sinister forces within. Then he goes on.
And no recourse. So-called experts ordained by the media who weave a web of spin, misinformation, and deceit. Violent mobs who lust to erect a socialist.
And then he ties it to these like flames and destruction.
You always got a red bait.
Right. You got a red bait, the socialist utopia.
On the
ashes of the republic.
Conspiring to rob us of our birthright.
I like that he says rob us of our birthright, and it's a picture of a white kid
with
blue eyes. Like, how much more eugenics and racially charged racist could you be than just our birthright white kid with blue eyes? Like, it's so outrageous. It's important for people to realize that he actually is an ex-wrestler named Kane, and he's WWFing the pandemic right now. That's exactly what he's doing.
Yep, exactly. He's it's just like the amount of fear mongering is
off
massive.
The charts.
It's beyond parody, to be honest. I cannot imagine what it feels like to be one of the members of the Board of Health in Knox County.
Watching this.
Yes. I'm so glad that they went at him the way that they did. I honestly don't know what I would say to him. I would have a hard time not cursing him out because it is just so completely unacceptable and downright dangerous for him to be putting this stuff out.
Completely dangerous, no question.
Yeah.
If we don't act now, the thing that makes America great, our freedom is only a generation from extinction.
It really is hilarious. I laughed when I watched this video.
Yeah, but this is my favorite part right here. This is our cut down of it. This isn't the original video, but this pause that happened right after this was like a good 45 seconds.
I believe it's inappropriate. It's dangerous. My grown children begged me to start using an alarm system.
It disturbed me, disheartened me. It hurt. As a military officer who has sworn to defend this country, I felt threatened.
Feel the same way.
I'm concerned of the ability of our group to stay together.
And he is there. Like they showed him this video. He is sitting there watching this thing. It was one of the most awkward things I've ever seen. I just want to get to his explanation, and then we're going to bring in Tyler.
Been encouraged by a number of people to resign.
My intention with that video is not to put anyone in
of course not.
To threaten anyone. And I'm sorry if it came across like that.
Oh yeah,
he's so full of shit.
Sorry if it came across like that.
Yeah.
My intention was not to intimidate or anything. Like,
not at all.
Not at all.
The point was to try to get people to talk, to show up at meetings. Maybe that didn't come across.
Oh, okay.
Purely educational.
Right. And then this is my favorite. It was not supposed to go on social media. What was he planning to do?
What was
he
like just made it for himself?
Supposed
That's
to
such
just
a lie.
show it to his family or something? I'm not sure.
My picture that I'm looking at is bigger than public health.
What's bigger than public health?
I'm also a politician, and sometimes I have to make a
good
statement. And I'm sorry if the blame was thrown on you. That was not the intention.
All right. Well, you get the point. It was very reckless. It was gross. And these people were genuinely scared, as they have every right to be. Let's go ahead and now bring in Tyler Whetstone from Knox News. Tyler, how are you, sir?
Good afternoon. I'm well. It's a rainy day here in East Tennessee.
Well, thank you for joining us. Thank you for the work that you do. We follow you. A lot of the links that we share are your links. We have a Knoxville Holler now, and they're always sharing your stuff. So we appreciate the work that you do and wanted to talk to you about this insanity that took place at the Knox Health Board. First of all, I guess my first question would be, did this surprise you to see this happening? Like, I know that Glenn Jacobs is a character, but was it surprising that he took it this far?
Yes. I mean, you kind of see the foundations for this that is becoming for several months, where Jacobs has every right to view and voice his opinions about health matters as it relates to his position on the Board of Health. He gets that by being the county mayor. So he gets that. He gets the vote, or a vote, one of 9 votes. And for several months now, he's made his views pretty clear about how he views public health in relation to business, and has been the lone no vote on a number of ordinances, including mask ordinance. Most recently, a couple of weeks ago, from the, I guess it was last week, on the bar and restaurant closures that went in effect after Dr. Birx from the White House visited. So, that it wasn't surprising in that sense. He's kind of been laying that groundwork for a while. Obviously, watching the video, it's incredibly alarming. It's awakening. It's disturbing. All the things that they said last night. So, in that sense, it was surprising, because I don't think anyone expects that to happen. You don't expect an elected official, certainly a local elected official, to say those things.
75% of the state supports mask mandates. He has been minimizing this virus since the beginning. Have you seen any evolution in him whatsoever as 200,000 Americans have perished? Has he changed at all?
He's softened a little bit. I know it's kind of hard to believe after what you saw just a minute ago. He wears a mask now in public, so that's a win. But I think he does take it more seriously than he did at first, though his stance on its impact to business is hardened, probably, if anything else. And that's fair. That's a fair argument. There's businesses that are closed and people who are out of work, and it's terrible. No one likes that. And he's a businessman himself. He has his own small business, or did have his own small business. So I understand that. But yeah.
And sorry, go ahead, Cassie.
Oh, I was just going to say, have you heard any reactions from community members as, regarding this video? I don't know how far of a reach it's gotten yet, but what has the community been saying?
I think it does two things. One, it's embarrassing. I tweeted that last night. I think anytime you have a county mayor having to apologize to a public board that he made them feel unsafe, like that, nobody wants that, regardless of how you feel about the virus, regardless of how you feel about government overreach or whatever. I think it's just embarrassing. So there's been a lot of that. Separately, I think, though, that his base, his political base, they're fine with it. I mean, I think that it's, I think they would say, maybe don't threaten so much next time, but we get the gist and we support the message. And the video was made, he said, to get people to come out. And last week at the county commission meeting, which we won't get into too much, I guess, but they will be debating and voting on Monday whether or not to clip the powers of the Board of Health. And at that meeting, there were a couple hundred folk who showed up without masks. And you could say a large part of that was from watching this video.
But he's saying that this wasn't intended for social media, which in this day and age is just an outrageous thing to even think, let alone say. Obviously, everything makes it onto social media now. What was his point? What was he like? What is even his excuse? And also, who made it?
Yeah, so I haven't confirmed who made it. We have Knox Compass, who does they do a website here. It's ran by one former News Sentinel staffer, and then Jesse Mayshark, who used to work at different places, and including Mayor Rahera's office. They wrote last week when the video first was published on a Facebook page that it was, and Jacobs told them that he created it with help of State Rep Jason Zachary and a Knoxville businessman, and that, of course, Jacob said last night it was meant for, I assume he meant it was meant for that specific Facebook page, but that Facebook page was made public, and it, those things get out of hand.
So wait, it wasn't meant for social media. It was only meant for Facebook.
It was only meant for one Facebook page, which never happens.
What does that even mean?
He knows how the internet works. This is not.
Oh my goodness! I mean, it's hard to avoid. I haven't really wanted to pile on him for being an ex-wrestler because it's a job. It's what everybody does. But this seems to be very clearly him bringing the pandemic into his WWEF world, right? Like, this feels like a wrestler making a performance out of the pandemic, and that's why it's so troubling and irresponsible in a lot of ways. Is that a sense that you have also?
I think it's irresponsible. I'm not going to comment too much further on that end of it. I would say that, I mean, he's been a libertarian for many years. If you follow his arc, speaking with Rand Paul at different events before he ever became interested in Knox County politics. So that's been a path, and he's been pretty well arrowed, or very pointed on that path for a while. And he also gets social media. He knows how to get a crowd. It's something he learned in the industry. It's an entertainment industry. At the end of the day, wrestling is entertainment, so he understands that. So you can put those two together, and maybe last night he would say was not the best use of those skills, but that's where we got.
Well, and as we let you out of here, I want to ask you, just can we get a sense of what's going on with the pandemic in Knoxville? Like, what's the general, how are the cases doing, the case count, the deaths? Like, is it going up or down? What's the backdrop here?
Yeah, sure. So things certainly ramped up, as you would expect, once the University of Tennessee opened its doors back up a couple of weeks ago. So we saw a pretty big spike here in the last few weeks. That's continued. We've had a couple of days where things have been lesser, but certainly continued to rise. Overall, the county has been pretty fortunate compared to the rest of the state. For the longest time, for like almost 2.5 months, we only had 5 deaths. But since the middle of June until now, we now have, I think it's up to 76 deaths. So very quickly, we've kind of shot that up. And Dr. Burks didn't come to Knoxville for no reason. I mean, there was some concern there. So we are both going steady and also not exactly leaving ourselves from it either. So it's been an interesting ride. And just real quick before I go to, I'll do a quick shout out to Knox News, and we've been covering this virus better than anyone else. So continue doing that here in East Tennessee. You can Knox News /subscribe is a great way to help put money in our pockets and help us to continue to do the work that we're doing.
Subscribe to Knox News. Follow at Tyler _Whetstone on Twitter, and at Knox News on Twitter. Tyler, thank you for the work that you do, the coverage, and appreciate you jumping on here with us. Definitely will keep following you as things progress.
Sure. Thanks, guys.
Thanks,
Thank
Tyler.
you.
All right, so there's Tyler Whetstone of Knox News bringing us up to speed on what's going on in Knoxville. Definitely appreciate him doing that. He is a good reporter, and, definitely support local journalism. We need it. What we do is different than what they do. We still need local journalists. We still need reporters. So I definitely hope that people are subscribing. Just wanted to flash a couple of the comments about this whole these shenanigans. Mama K2C said, this is a group of professional men and women who volunteered as nonpartisan voice resource for them to be harassed and vilified for political gain by apocalyptic propaganda. Unforgivable. Completely agree.
Yeah.
Terry Lewis, who's a doctor, says he should resign. It's a lapse of judgment that calls into question his fitness to continue to serve. And then, that's Mitt Romney. Don't mean to talk about him. But I completely agree with what everybody's saying. This is a lapse of judgment. It just shows that he's unfit and definitely not something that anybody should be comfortable with.
Yeah, I don't even know if it's a lapse. Like, I think he just has bad judgment, Yeah. I think that he, but I mean, I totally agree. Like, he clearly has terrible judgment. I mean, I think he's shown himself to have had consistently terrible judgment throughout this pandemic. And that hasn't changed. Like, maybe if this is him softening his position, as Tyler said, like, if this is him softening, then I mean, the bar is on the floor. So I mean, it's incredibly dangerous. This should be something that has bipartisan backlash, but of course I haven't seen that. I mean, maybe there are Republicans calling this out that I haven't seen, but it was made in tandem, which we just learned apparently with Jason Zachary. And I mean, who,
by the way, we're hearing is now going to be challenging Lamberth. I think maybe challenging Lamberth for majority leader. So Jason
great.
Zachary is failing his way up the ladder in the Republican ranks, and he is equally as irresponsible.
I think they've proven that to be successful, like to fail upwards.
Jason Zachary was at a food drive at a middle school during the pandemic and refused to wear a mask when they were requiring masks. Like, you're at a middle school food drive and you won't wear a mask. It's just shameful. He's also really bad at math, as one of our videos shows. So that was the Glenn Jacobs story, and we'll definitely stay on it. I don't think the fallout is done. Our video has been seen like 30,000 times in the last few hours, so it's making the rounds. Personally, I think it should be a national story that a county mayor is threatening the Board of Health in a place like Knoxville. I mean, this isn't like some tiny area of Tennessee. This is Knoxville.
Right.
People should be up in arms about this, and I think for the most part they are. Again, wanted to make sure people know that if you guys have anything to holler about or want to say anything, feel free to jump in. Lauren Sorensen, friend of ours, says Jason Zachary's cousin Susan Horn is the school board chair and liked this video. I'm not sure which video she liked. Liked our video, his video. Little unclear on if we should like her or not. Let us know if she's a villain.
That's either great or terrible.
Yes,
I don't know.
We'll figure that out. Another story that we've been covering, the video that I wanted to play here that we can do our commenting on thing, is this week in Memphis, Representative John DeBerry was in Shelby County, and he went and visited the Shelby County Republicans, which apparently is more than he's ever really been willing to do with the Shelby County Democrats. And he stood there, and this is what he had to say to them.
We look at the Supreme Court, we look at the Congress, we look at the Senate. How well we do on the 3rd of November will make a determination as to which way this country goes.
All right, so he says, how well we do on the 3rd of November will make a determination of which way this country goes. And we is the question here. And so people know the backstory here. John DeBerry was just kicked off of the ballot as a Democrat. He is no longer a Democrat. He's running as an independent against Tory Harris in Memphis. And here he is in Shelby County, Memphis, standing with the Republicans saying, we. This man has been a Democrat for like 20 years or his whole life, presumably, but actually a legislator Democrat who is like, has, chairmanships, and he's in leadership with the Democrats. And here he is saying, we about with the Republicans.
We don't have the luxury of being silent anymore. The media has been able to make us stupid to the extent that we're not looking at what's really important. What do they stand for? Are they murdering babies?
Are they murdering babies? So here he is. We know that he's pro-life. There's a lot of pro-life Democrats. A lot of people have made a big thing about, oh, well, the Democrats kicked him off the ballot because he's pro-life. That is not the case. There are pro-life Democrats running in Tennessee, and they have not been kicked off the ballot. He's been pro-life his whole career. He was not kicked off the ballot. It's not just that. It's a combination of a lot of things, such as
are they destroying the institution of marriage?
Destroying the institution of marriage. Cassie, what is he talking about there?
Oh, I wonder what that could be.
Yes. What does he mean?
It's the most obvious dog whistle of all time. I mean, it's anti-LGBT, as it says up on the screen right now. I mean, he's against gay marriage. Yeah, it's pretty bad.
Against gay marriage. And then he goes on to...
Are they allowing those who refuse to obey the law to have more protection of the law than...
So he's talking about, he voted for the criminalization protest bill, the law that essentially felonizes doing what these protesters did by sleeping out for 62 days, staying outside in the plaza to make their voices heard. He voted for that, which, you know, frankly, for a black man in America to be criminalizing protest, it's appalling. And especially, you know, he did it like a week after John Lewis died. He also was for the vouchers, as Lauren talks about. And, you know, so it's all of these things that John DeBerry did that got him kicked off the ballot. And so
everybody else, are they removing our First and Second Amendment rights? It's about the future of this nation. And who understands the principles that we believe in. Because November 3rd rolls around.
And then he goes on to talk about the Supreme Court. We don't need to watch the whole thing, but the bottom line is he essentially has outed himself now as a Republican, as a Trump supporter. He goes on to talk about we can't let them name the next Supreme Court judge, showing that he's a Trump supporter. So, you know, anybody who has been saying, well, we should let the people speak and this man is a Democrat and, you know, let the people vote. No, he is a Republican. He is funded by Republicans.
Right.
He considers himself a Republican. It has never, ever, ever been clear.
Yeah, I mean, those are all like some of the most major Republican issues that the state legislature votes on. Like he just ticked off the list, essentially the Republican platform in Tennessee and things that he supports. So, I mean, it fits his ideology for him to be a Republican. And it's just such a shame that he was able to get away with running as a Democrat for so many years. And I don't know. I mean, I definitely think that it's, yeah, I mean, I understand when people were potentially upset about, you know, him being kicked off just because it's like, how do the people have a voice, yada, yada, yada. But he completely agrees with it's dishonest and disingenuous for him to be running on the Democratic platform when he agrees with all of these issues. And then he turns around and goes and speaks to the Republicans.
The question is not, why did they kick him off the ballot? The question is, why is he running as a Democrat?
Yeah.
It's so disingenuous for him to pretend to be a Democrat, take money from Republicans, you know, talk to Republicans saying we believe everything they believe, and then say, oh, well, I'm a Democrat. Like,
you can't do that.
No, you can't do that. We have a party system for a reason. And then at the end of the day, he is still running. He's running as an independent. If people care so much about the things that he believes in as a person, then they can go vote for him. Otherwise, he's just been trading on the D next to his name and actually not supporting the values that it stands for. And that's ridiculous. Yeah. On top of that, Republicans have done this to their own before too. So I don't want to hear it anymore. And this video to me seals the deal. Nobody should have any sympathy for John DeBerry. And in fact, people should be asking him for answers. I want to see somebody ask him, do you support Donald Trump? Because there's no way that's going to help him in his district. 100%. And it's pretty clear that he did. He tried to say it without saying it in that video. He didn't actually say I support Trump, but he's saying, oh, do we want to let them name the next Supreme Court justice? We know what he's saying.
Yeah.
And so, you know, that is just another thing that I want people to understand and realize that, like, this guy is a Republican.
You can't really get much more transparent than that. And it's such a shame too, because like, I mean, at the end, during the last like extraordinary session that just happened, he gave that speech that, you know, got him a standing ovation from all the GOP members of the state legislature. And it got like conservative media all around the country to be reposting it. And it was just like filled with like, it was just like perfect fodder for conservatives to use to like cherry pick. It's like using that from, John DeBerry is the same as posting like a Candace Owens video. Like, is it Owens or Evans? Candace Evans? Candace Owens? Owens, right. Yeah. It's the same thing.
It's
like
so useful for them to be able to
useful.
say. Yeah.
And it's like, it's cherry picked because it's like, it doesn't represent obviously I cannot speak for this community, but it doesn't represent, I feel confident in saying that it doesn't represent the broad majority of like how the Black community feels about race issues in this country right now with passing these protest criminalization bills. It's just absurd. And so it's just giving them perfect fodder to like advance their ideology.
Joel Alex says maybe we should start running some Republicans. It doesn't matter what they say anyway. Might as well pick up a couple seats. It's a good idea, Joel. I'm with you. Might as well run some Republicans, run as Republicans. See what happens. You never know.
Good luck. Try everything. I don't even know anymore.
Yes.
I don't know.
One story I want to make sure we cover before we finish today is the Breonna Taylor situation. Obviously, that's a tremendous injustice that happened. Nobody is getting punished for her death, which is outrageous. Some tweets starting with her sister. This is her sister's Instagram post saying, "Sister, I'm so sorry. It's fucked up and infuriating that Breonna couldn't get justice, suppress the rights of marginalized." I mean, so many quotes like this. This is one by Jamal Crawford, basketball player, said, "The cops that murdered Breonna Taylor knew this is how it would play out from the moment it happened. They were never worried about justice being served." And at the end of the day, to me, that's the main point. Until we put the seed of doubt in their heads as these things are happening, that they may actually be punished for it, they're going to keep happening.
Yeah.
So when they know they're going to get away with it, they're going to shoot first and ask questions later, and these things are going to happen over and over again. Peace starts with accountability. Until we start punishing cops for these things, you're going to have violence in the streets. You're going to have protest. You're going to have police being, in danger too. This keeps everybody less safe by allowing bad cops to go unpunished.
Yeah. It's these systems are like set up to behave this way, and until we change them, as you said, and until there's some accountability, a lot of accountability, and until we like completely root out these injustices, the protests and all of this is going to continue as they should. We need to like be leveraging whatever pressure we can against these institutions that are continuing to prop these racist institutions up. And they've been problematic since their founding. The institution of police, the institution of the criminal justice system. There are so many injustices rooted inside of those institutions. Yeah. And we're not going to see true justice until we fix all of it. And it's a lot, but this is something that we've never completely dealt with. We continue to try to put like Band-Aids on this issue, and it's only to like throw a bone to people to kind of appease communities for a certain amount of time so that protests maybe stop for a little while, but it doesn't work in the long run. And they don't feel like they have any sort of, as you said, like they don't feel any threat of them having to face any sort of accountability, and so they don't even hesitate. And which is extraordinarily dangerous. It's just I just really encourage people to continue pushing as hard as we possibly can.
I know it's also so deflating because it's like, how do you even encourage people to do that? There's just over and over and over again, no accountability, just the same thing. It just feels like blackness is criminalized in America. And so there's just no benefit of the doubt by the system. If you don't see that the system is racist at this point, like your eyes are closed. It's just so obvious. And shameful. And I don't know that there's a quick fix here. I agree. We have to keep pushing. We have to keep showing up and putting our bodies out there and speaking up. But there is a point where you start to go, wow, we might just be irreparably, it's just hard to have any optimism when things like this happen. This one seemed like there should be accountability here, and it's just not happening. So, it's sad and, depressing and devastating, and hopefully does not speak to what's coming in November, but I worry that it may.
Yeah. I think those are a lot of really good points. I think that, I just can't imagine how it feels. Like it's gotta be exhausting, to put it lightly, just to not have that social contract extended to you essentially. Cause it's, I've heard that is, you see that that's what's happening, and I'm sure that's how it feels. And so, and to see in a case that seems so just morally clear cut. I mean,
Right.
they weren't looking for her or her boyfriend. And like, yes, they had a warrant for that house, but they were not looking for either one of them. Like those are the wrong people that were in the house. And, you know,
right. So they've now said they can break into your house unannounced and then shoot you in self-defense. Like,
exactly.
in what world, if they were not police, this would be not even a question.
It's clear cut.
And police should be held to a higher standard, not a lower one. Like, this is so outrageous. The level, the amount of things that you can't do if you're Black in America now extends to sleeping in your bed. Right. You know, like it's a terrifying thing. It's you know, it's just irredeemable. And you know, I see Grant saying they started detaining anyone with a firearm after the officers were shot. No outrage over Second Amendment, and insane how swift and heavy justice is served when an officer is hurt or killed. And then Angel says they attack the symptoms of the problem and not the problem itself, which is exactly right. The symptoms of the problem are the protests and the violence in the streets. But if you want that to stop killing Black people and letting cops get away with it. You know, you're not going to get to one without the other. Like, you're not just going to say, hey, stop being upset about the thing. Like, you got to deal with the thing that people are upset about. Like, this is just logic at this point.
Yeah.
So,
but they're doing it because they want to continue like with the ideology that they support, right? Like, it's like they like using the police to essentially like criminalize Blackness and criminalize poverty and all of the, you know, these issues and or you know, communities and or like, you know, just poverty in general, or Blackness in general, which, you know, it's just criminalization of non-white affluent people, essentially. And so and using the police as the arm, the strength, like the brute force to do it. And so that's the ideology that they want to continue because it benefits, you know, the people that are making these decisions. And so that's why they don't go to the root of the problem. And like being able to like parrot the law and order, you know, that like just that really like brings the white opposite. People out to vote in like conservative white people, that really gets them going. And so it's like an effective ideology for them to be peddling, but it's incredibly dangerous for a vast majority of the country, not to mention the fact that it's racist. And that's why Breonna Taylor died in the first place, which is completely tragic. And the fact that like in her case, and I know we posted about this yesterday, but in her case, the only charges that were brought were about the bullets that hit the wall, not that hit her. And I mean, if that doesn't show you that we don't like, that's why Black Lives Matter exists as a phrase. Like, if that doesn't show that like the institutions don't think that Black Lives Matter and the individuals that are in them that are making these decisions, then I don't know what does.
Absolutely. Barbara Walker says there's no law and order when we're trafficking extrajudicial, it's hard to say, extrajudicial killings. She's right. Let's move on to a couple other videos before we get out of here. I just want to show people a couple things to vent, especially about my friend Marsha Blackburn.
Oh, your good friend.
Yeah, my great friend. This was her talking about people's reaction to Amy Coney Barrett and just filling the airwaves with lies.
And what the Democrats are trying to do is disqualify you if you are a person of faith. So you have Amy Coney Barrett and you have Barbara Lagoa, each are Catholics. And what they're going to do is try to disqualify them. And their standard would be if you're an atheist or a secularist, then you could be a judge.
That is such bullshit.
Biden is Catholic.
Flaming bullshit. First of all, Biden's Catholic. There are plenty of Democrats are faithful people. The vast majority,
most are.
Yes. Like, they do not have the mantle of faith and religion seized, no matter what she says. And it's so ugly for her to try to paint that picture.
Yeah.
You know, people are talking about Amy Coney Barrett's faith because her people of praise Catholicism thing is something we're talking about, and it's interesting, and you know, people need to know what it stands for, and there are some other sort of outside the box elements to it, and it's not unfair to talk about. Democrats are not anti-Catholic. Democrats are not anti-religious. What I will say to Democrats, though, is that we do need to do a better job of speaking the language of faith, speaking to people of faith. I think we shy away from it a lot, and it lets Marsha Blackburn say things like this, but she needs to be admonished when she says this garbage. It's ugly, it's hideous, and it's, you know, it's absolutely sacrilegious.
Yeah. I mean, she knows exactly what she's doing. It's like she's riling up her base. Like that is another thing that gets them going. And, the threat of like white Christianity in this country is obviously like under fire, according to all of them.
Right. They're the persecuted ones.
They're the person. Exactly. Like they just try to flip it on its head, which I mean, it's absurd. But yeah, it's really, really ugly. And I see that Barbara Walker is commenting like, we are not, nor should we be, I'll put it up here, a theocracy, which number one, like it's like we can deal with both of these dualities at the same time, right? Like I completely agree with that. That's separation of church and state is an extremely important just sentiment to embody, I think, because it makes sure that we're not treading on people that that aren't Christians, right? But I agree with also what you're saying, Justin, like that we can weave that sort of, because like a lot of people are faithful in this country, that we can weave a lot of those lessons that are good into the way that we talk about issues so that we can resonate more with people. We can both of those things can exist at the same time. And like the lack of nuance. I mean, Marsha Blackburn is not known for her nuance, and she's just trying to rile people up.
I mean, I would say that we're not a theocracy. We should not be a theocracy. Are we? That is a question.
Right.
I mean, especially in Tennessee, I think we actually are a theocracy, like a full-fledged, full-blown theocracy. I would offer that we are. Now, we are a Christian nation, a majority Christian nation. Something like 75, 76% of this country is Christian.
True.
Tennessee has the highest percentage of evangelicals in the whole country, which is why I think we are a unique situation here in Tennessee, which is why we see certain things passing in other states that don't pass here. We are a unique state, and I think we are a theocracy. But I think I'm more talking about strategically. Like strategically, Democrats allow themselves to be painted as the party against God, the anti-God party, when the only conversation we have about religion is, let's make sure we keep it out of government. Let's make sure we keep it out of schools. And I'm not saying those things are wrong, but I'm saying that when we don't also have the conversation that, yes, we are faithful people. Yes, we can speak to taking care of the least of these, taking care of the poor, taking care of the stranger, because I think Democrats in general have the message of the Bible. I think the real message of the Bible is to take care of the least of these, the poor.
Sure.
That is what Democrats are trying to do with healthcare, with better wages for workers. And I think we sort of do ourselves a strategic disservice when we shy away from having that conversation and we leave an opening for Marsha to say trash like this.
Yeah, no, I agree with all of that. I think that all of it can exist at the same time. I mean, it's making sure that, as you said, that we are caring for the least of these. And a lot of times that means that, that people who aren't Christian are, because we are majority Christian. So it's like, the power imbalance definitely exists, but yeah, I think that those two things are completely compatible.
I just want to answer Barbara. I didn't say we're a Christian nation. I said we are a majority Christian nation, which means that the majority of this nation considers itself Christian.
Yeah. That's it's just numbers.
Reality, the numbers are there. It's 75%, and so if we turn our heads away from that, if we act like we don't see that, I think we're doing ourselves a strategic disservice. If we're trying to win elections in this country, I don't think we should shy away. Somebody that I think did a pretty good job of having this conversation in the way that I'm talking about, somebody that I didn't support personally in the primary, but I thought he did a really good job, was Pete Buttigieg. He talks that language. He did not shy away from being a faithful candidate. And I think that in general, I would like to see more Democrats do that, not out of my personal preference necessarily, but just because I think that that's the way that we need to make up some ground in this country. That's what I'm saying. Joel Alex says Democrats are in the Sermon on the Mount, Republicans are Leviticus. I wish I was biblically savvy enough to know what he means. I think I kind of do. I'm sure he's right about that.
Leviticus is pretty terrifying.
Okay. All right. One last clip, and then we'll get you guys. Actually, there's two more. If you guys are stayed with us this far, you're willing to sit with us for a couple more clips.
Hang out with us. And you can still call in if you want to.
And you can call in if you want to holler about something. Yes. This is cathartic. This is Trump at the RBG ceremony today. This was him. They're yelling, vote him out.
So deserved.
Vote him out. And then I was just waiting till the end when he slithers off. It's very cathartic. Like, I just hope that is sort of the beginning of what we'll be seeing for the next.
I really hope so.
For the rest of his life, for him to just get chanted at and
shun him into the corners.
So good. And I love that he's like having to wear a mask there too. Like,
like, how did his handlers get him to wear a mask today?
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
So that's fun. And then here's one this is a video you made. This is Jerry Sexton.
Oh my God.
Talking about diversity.
He's so crazy.
And how we need not teach our kids diversity at school anymore. I know Lauren Sorensen's still with us. She's a teacher.
I wish that we would get back to education. I hear a lot about diversity.
I love that you did that.
It's like, oh shit, this is not going to go well.
It's not the Department of Education's responsibility to teach a child the aspects of life in that respect.
Oh, no. It's not up to the school to teach children.
To teach them things that about how the world works.
No, they should only teach them, the things Jerry Sexton can understand.
It's just, they don't need to know things.
They don't need to know things, says the white man from rural Tennessee who defended, people need to realize he defended Rep. David Byrd, who sexually, admitted to abusing children by saying, "Oh, we all make mistakes." So yes, let's have Pastor Sexton tell us what we should be teaching our kids.
Understand things that
so prayerful
confuse
before
us.
This meeting as well.
But we know what 2 + 2 is. I think it's still 4.
Good job,
If we could just all agree.
Yes.
To get our minds and our hearts and our attention on the need of educating our children and get rid of our social ideas.
Get rid of those social ideas. Yes. Get rid of those, Jerry.
It's because
no more social ideas. Anything that Jerry disagrees with, nobody should believe that anymore. Get rid of those ideas. Jerry is the perfect human.
He's the expert, apparently. We shouldn't be listening to the people who've had these lived experiences.
No.
Beyond what a straight white man has experienced in this country.
Yes, let's just let Jerry design the world.
And all of these things that we're fixated on. And getting my little part, just forget all of that.
Forget it. Forget it all.
Just forget it.
And it's just simple. If it's not simple, I can't get it anyway. So if we can make it simple,
that's the line right there.
So complex, no one understands it. And therein is where that we lose ourselves.
Oh, he has lost himself.
If
so
it's not
long
simple,
ago.
If it's not simple, I won't understand.
Jerry, it's unbelievable to watch these guys do their thing in committee. Like, you're on video, dude. Like, you're on video talking about this stuff. Fixated on his little part. Yes.
He's Lauren, really oh, go ahead.
Sexton defends Byrd and the Democrats are the party of pedophiles. Exactly. And then Angel says, "You're from Bean Station. Stay in your pea pod."
Stay in your pea pod.
I mean, it's wild, to see the things that they say, that they choose to say. Like, who are they talking to?
He's it's so naive. It's honestly unbelievable, the naivete of Jerry Sexton.
It's amazing. Yes. And, he is not even the worst of them. I mean, there's so many like that. We've been hollering for 18 months or longer now, probably 20 months. And it's just wild to see how many of them there are, they all kind of share these beliefs and are willing to talk about diversity like it's a bad thing and excuse pedophilia like it's a shrug of the shoulders. How twisted up do you have to be to think diversity is bad and pedophilia is okay?
You have to be a racist who benefits from the patriarchy.
That's well said. Oh boy. All right. Well, Angel, by the way, you should jump on here sometime with us.
Yeah, get on.
Y chromosome is tainted in Tennessee between Jerry and Cameron. Yes. I'm tearing those pages out of my phone book. I think you should hang on to those pages. You're probably going to need them in the coming years, Angel.
You gotta holler at them.
You're going to have to holler at them. Tuesdays, Thursdays, 2 p.m. is where you can find us. It's been another good day hollering with you. Thank you to everybody who joins us. Lauren, Angel, Barbara, everybody who comes by during the week. We really do appreciate it. We're going to try to keep having guests to talk about the things that are happening in Tennessee, and definitely stay with us and follow the Holler at the TN Holler. I'm at Canoe and at Cash Jacks. We'll see you next week.
Thanks, guys.